the hell are we talking about, man? What we got going on, y'all? So this is gonna be coming from Memory Trails. Strange 1980 trends we thought were totally normal. Now, I was not here in the 80s. I literally spent 7 days in the 80s, and boom, it was 1990. So I do claim an 80. I'm an 80s baby, but I wasn't here for that. You know what I'm saying? So everything that I know about the 80s is through television, you feel me? And what my parents and family have told me what was going on, feel me? So this should be interesting, see what strange trends were popping back then, you know what I'm saying? Let's get to it.
In 1985, the clapper turned a simple lamp into a futuristic gadget.
Clap on,
2 years
clap
later,
on.
waterbeds made up roughly 1 out of every 5 mattress sales in America. And in millions of homes, popcorn ceilings were still being sprayed overhead because they were cheap, fast.
Yo, and you know what? I know it's early, but to this day, they still do that dumb shit in apartments. Especially like the older ones, they have that pop. I can't stand popcorn ceilings, yo. I swear to goodness, I can't stand
and
it.
hid flaws well. That was the 1980s. If something felt modern, practical, or a little over the top, it quickly became part of the home. Here are the weirdest trends that took over American homes in the 1980s.
We had those blinds. My grandparents had them blinds.
The human back. Its underlying muscle structure creates a surface of complex curves and contours. And to conform, a sleeping surface has to adapt to that unique design. No other bed can do that as well as a Big Sur waterbed. Right now,
by 1987, waterbeds made up roughly 22% of all mattress sales in America, which still sounds unbelievable now. Just seeing one made it feel like the future had landed in somebody's bedroom. But once a full-size waterbed was filled, it could weigh around 1,600 pounds. So once it was in place, it was staying there. You needed a heater because sleeping on cold water was miserable. And if that vinyl ever got punctured, you were not dealing with a bed anymore. You were dealing with a flood. In a lot of homes, especially over that floral living room couch, plastic covers were just part of the setup. The whole point was to protect.
Yo, I kid you not. You know, back when I was a kid, you know, Queens, we definitely had the plastic on the furniture. I wish I had a picture I could insert so y'all could see for yourselves. Me and my cousins, we were babies and whatnot, but we definitely had the plastic on the furniture. That was a given, you know what I'm saying? And don't fall asleep and have a nap on there, because you wake up, your whole face be sweaty, sleeping on that plastic, man. It was brutal.
The good furniture, especially in houses where that sofa was supposed to last for years. But sitting on it was another matter entirely. Every little move came with that squeaky sound. And in the summer, your legs could stick to it before long. A lot of us could probably still walk into mom's or grandma's house and find one there today.
You have 11 mute messages.
All right.
By the end of the 1980s, roughly 3 out of every 5 American homes had a standalone answering machine sitting next to the phone. The machine itself was simple. What made it memorable was the outgoing greeting. Families recorded songs, jokes, sound effects, and little comedy routines that were funny once and then played for every caller for the next 6 months. Sometimes the greeting ran so long, you almost forgot why you called in the first place. That little beep was not just a signal. It was the start of a performance. Before you even sat down in some 1980s bathrooms, you had to deal with a fuzzy toilet lid cover that never wanted to stay up. These shaggy sets came with a lid cover and a matching rug around the toilet. Exactly the kind of coordinated bathroom set Sears loved to sell. They were supposed to make the room feel soft, warm, and pulled together. But all that thick fabric was sitting in the one room in the house with the most moisture. Cozy was one word for it. Clean was another matter.
Clap on, clap off, clap on, clap off, the clapper.
The clapper was supposed to be the future of home automation. And when it came out in 1985, it really felt that way. The first time we saw somebody clap their hands and the lamp came on, it looked like pure magic. 2 claps turned on one device, 3 claps controlled another, and that clap on, clap off jingle got stuck in everybody's head. Of course, real life was less.
See, I couldn't do that because I have a very loud clap. You know what I'm saying? My child's mother has told me this. Just people in general tell me, yeah, you got a loud ass clap. So I couldn't be doing nothing like that. People would get annoyed with me with that clap shit.
Elegant. A dog barked, a door slammed, or the TV got loud, and suddenly the living room was making decisions on its own. Builders loved popcorn ceilings because they were cheap, fast, and great at hiding every little flaw in the drywall underneath. They also absorbed sound, which made them seem even more practical. So in the 80s, they were everywhere. But they also trapped dust, grease, smoke, and all kinds of grime nobody talked about. And anybody who has ever tried scraping one off knows that what looked harmless overhead turned into one of the messiest jobs in the house.
Facts.
The Chia Pet showed up in 1982, and somehow a clay animal covered in sprouts became one of the strangest gifts in America.
There's a new pet. Chia. Chia Pet, the pottery that grows. It's fun and easy.
You soaked it, smeared on the chia seeds, set it in a sunny window.
See, the thing is, like, a lot of this shit was in the 90s too, in the early 90s and stuff like that. And then it slowly fizzled out. But I remember a lot of this stuff, man, as a kid.
And waited. Over the next week or two, it started growing what was supposed to look like fur or hair. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes one side flourished while the other side looked half bald. But that did not matter. Those little terracotta creatures ended up on kitchen counters and windowsills all over the country. The Flowbee was one of those inventions that sounded like a joke until you realized people really bought it. Patented in 1987 and pushed hard in 1988 infomercials, it hooked up to a vacuum cleaner and promised a neat haircut at home. The suction pulled the hair in while the blades trimmed it, and somehow that was supposed to replace a barber. Reviewers compared the sound to standing inside an airplane hangar, which tells you a lot.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And yet,
I wouldn't know anything about that because we weren't using that shit in the black neighborhoods, for real. No, you're going to a barber and you're gonna get your hair lined up. We're gonna use some clippers. So this was something that didn't make its way to us.
Around 2 million units had been shipped, and George Clooney still insists he has been using one for decades. Vertical blinds could be found on big windows all over America, and not one set ever seemed to work perfectly. Those long plastic slats hung from a track, turning with a wand or opening with a pull chain, at least in theory. In real life, one slat was always crooked. The track jammed, and brushing past them meant hearing that familiar plastic clatter. Even when they were brand new, they looked one step away from falling apart. Glass block walls started showing up everywhere in the 80s, especially in bathrooms, entryways, and room dividers. Those thick, translucent blocks let light through while still giving a little privacy, which made them feel modern and a little fancy. Builders loved to sell them as a Miami Art Deco touch. In practice, everything behind them looked blurred and underwater.
I ain't gonna lie, that is something that is still dope to this day, in my opinion. I like the glass cubes and it gives that allure and stuff like that. That's dope. You know, that definitely held its own.
For about $12,
What the hell is this?
the bedazzler could turn a plain pair of jeans into something that looked ready for the 80s. It was Ronco's rhinestone and stud setter, and the idea was simple. Line it up, squeeze, and hope for the best. The problem was, every mistake was permanent too. The infomercials showed neat little patterns, but real life usually meant crooked studs, snagged fabric, and more sparkle than anyone planned.
But that's what gave it its
If something in the
identity.
house could be coated in brass, the 1980s usually found a way to do it. Faucets, lamps, cabinet pulls, towel racks, all of it got that warm gold finish. It was meant to make a home feel a little more upscale, and for a while, it did. The problem was that brass showed fingerprints fast and tarnished just as quickly. Keeping it shiny became its own chore. Ginsu knives were one of the great infomercial success stories of the era, and the funny part is, they were not even Japanese. They were made in Ohio and given a name that simply sounded exotic enough to sell. The commercials were unforgettable, slicing through cans, shoes, and hoses, then turning around and cutting a tomato paper thin.
In Japan, the hand can be used like a knife. But this method doesn't work with a tomato. That's why we use the Ginsu.
That drama moved an estimated $75 million worth of knives. In a regular kitchen, they were fine, especially for bread or tomatoes. But the real genius was not the blade, it was the marketing. Mood rings felt like they were reading your soul, even though all they were really doing was reacting to temperature. That did not stop us from staring down at our hand all day, waiting for the color to change and trying to remember what each shade was supposed to mean. Calm, nervous, romantic, mysterious. The ring always seemed to know more than it actually did. That little shift in color was enough to make the whole thing feel almost magical. And for a while, that was more than enough. By the mid-1980s, a narrow strip of wallpaper near the ceiling somehow became the finishing touch every room needed. Kitchens got fruit, bathrooms got seashells, nurseries got teddy bears, and living rooms got...
Just looking at this, it's like, yes, it has character, but if we're being quite frank, yo, too over the top. Way too over the top. Like, if you see a lot of houses now, a lot of apartments, they have this like neutral colors. It's a lot of gray, whites, very little decor, you know, minimalist, if you will. And so I guess because that's how my eye's been trained now, when I see stuff like this, it's like, damn. But this is what, you know, my grandparents' house looked like. This is how it looked. You know what I'm saying? This is what it was.
Ivy. It was meant to add a little personality without covering the whole wall. In 1985, Worlds of Wonder released Teddy Ruxpin, and for kids it felt like the future of toys had arrived. You put a cassette into his back, pressed play, and his mouth and eyes moved along with the story. In theory, it was amazing. In practice, the timing could drift.
This was gone by the time
blinking could get
I started
strange.
playing with toys.
And when the batteries ran low, that friendly voice could slow down into something straight out of a nightmare. The bear sold about 5 million units in its first 2 years, which means a whole lot of American kids had one sitting in the room with them after dark. That was the magic of the 1980s. So many of these trends were impractical, over-designed, or just plain ridiculous, but at the time, they felt completely normal.
Stupid.
And that is exactly why we still remember them. If this brought back some memories, subscribe to
some of that stuff I do remember. A lot of that stuff I don't. You know what I'm saying? And naturally so. I wasn't around for the 80s. So, yeah. But that was interesting to take a trip down memory lane and see what was going on in the decade I was born in. You know what I mean? But yeah, y'all let me know in the comments. You know, if y'all are older than me and y'all were here through the 80s, y'all let me know if y'all had any of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'll be sure to link this video in case y'all want to check out some more of their stuff. Make sure y'all click all the buttons and talk amongst each other in the comments section. All that being said, it's your boy Robbie. Until the next video, we out.